Over the past year, the basketball world has started to catch up to what Timberwolves fans already know. Jaden McDaniels is one of the most fearsome defenders on the planet. What has taken a little bit longer to enter the public sphere is the sky-high potential the 22-year-old has on the offensive side of the ball. McDaniels is still much more raw offensively than his already elite defensive stylings, but the groundwork is clearly there for him to become a scorer on all three levels. McDaniels averaged 12 points and 2 assists on 51% shooting from the field and 40% from deep last season, but those numbers were underpinned by a crazy growth in his all-around game. As you can see, McDaniels was elite in a number of important categories last season, ranking above the 85th percentile league-wide in field goal percentage at the rim, 3-point percentage, points per possession as a pick-and-roll ball handler and a cutter, while still being a serviceable transition operator. There is a legitimate offensive monster brewing alongside Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, but the problem for Minnesota is finding the touches and the usage to feed that beast. Right now, McDaniels is a super low usage player, ranking in the 30th percentile or lower in usage rate, on-ball percentage, scoring possessions per 75, and B-ball index's offensive load metric. With Rudy Gobert's low usage offensive game and Mike Conley entering the twilight of his career, McDaniels might be Minnesota's third option offensively, but it's hard for him to command a heap of scoring opportunities with Edwards and Towns still chewing up a ton of usage as high volume scorers. Next season, the Wolves need to start finding ways to maximize McDaniels' offensive potential, and that might mean getting a little bit more creative. He isn't the type of player who is going to go out there and steal possessions off Edwards and Towns, but he also has too much untapped talent to keep getting shots purely as a corner 3-point shooter or as a cutter. It's a good problem for the Timberwolves to have, but it is a problem nonetheless. When he is within that high usage starting lineup, it would be wise for the Wolves to get McDaniels more involved in handoff actions, moving him away from the corner and into a more assertive role within the offensive actions. McDaniels was awesome from an efficiency standpoint in handoff actions last season, registering 1.2 points per possession, which finished the season in the 87th percentile. But he only had a measly 30 scoring possessions that came from a handoff. McDaniels has a funky blend of long strides, excellent scoring footwork, and soft touch at shots on the rim, or pull-up shots in the mid-range. By running more handoff actions for him, he can exhibit those talents without breaking the flow of the offense. Handing the lanky forward more usage as a handoff creator in the offense should also open up his bandwidth as a playmaker, helping Minnesota get more catch-and-shoot looks from Edwards, Towns, and Conley. Towns had a down year as a shooter, but we know he is elite in catch-and-shoot situations. He shot over 40% for 5 straight seasons before this last one. Edwards and Conley proved to be elite last season for the Wolves too, but the team would really benefit even further if they could pump up their attempts per game. McDaniels hasn't shown a true propensity to create for others on his handoff possessions, but he has shown an elementary grasp of floor mapping, reading his teammates' scoring gravity, and understanding spacing to suggest that he can collapse a defense off a handoff and then fire a pass to the open shooter. On a possession like this one, McDaniels shows his ability to read defensive coverages and make the right play. As he slips past his defender into the open lane to the rim, he sees Gobert's man leaving to rotate and Mike Conley's man helping the helper from the corner. That leaves Conley open for the corner 3. It's a simple read, but one that he should be able to make if he's going to be given more responsibility within the offense. So, while he is with the starting unit, those handoff possessions would be a great way to start drip feeding McDaniels some extra on-ball usage. But there is still so much gold to be mined from his offensive game that the Wolves really should be doing a little bit more than that. That's where mixing him in with bench lineups might be an avenue worth exploring. Last season, it was Edwards, Towns, or D'Angelo Russell who subbed out of the game first and acted as one of the key scoring options alongside Minnesota's bench unit. I think it would be prudent to give McDaniels some chances to do that same thing next season, by putting him alongside solid bench contributors like Kyle Anderson, Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Shake Milton. McDaniels will be able to let his offensive game flourish without taking usage off those high usage stars. If McDaniels is given the leash to be a number 1 or number 2 option next to less ball dominant players, he can start to test the limits of his offensive arsenal. It would be fun to see him at the crux of more pick and roll actions, which is kind of hard to do when Edwards and Conley are the ones combining with Gobert and Towns in those starting lineup pick and rolls. The forward's main path to stardom is using his fluidity and size to his advantage like he does defensively. Unleashing him as a true pick and roll ball handler for small stints in meaningful games would be a good step toward maximizing him in that fashion. McDaniels was a really good finisher when he was handling the ball in pick and roll, but once again the volume was extremely low. He scored 1.05 points per possession as a pick and roll ball handler, but only registered 39 scoring possessions for the entire season. McDaniels is never going to be the prototypical scoring force who is able to dominate entire games with that pick and roll scoring, but his unique way of slithering to the rim makes him a tough cover when he is coming off a screen. Again, it's those long strides that are hard to defend, but he is crafty as a mid-range pull-up guy, and his insanely long arms combine with a silky touch around the rim when he gets all the way into the paint. Look how far he is able to travel off just 2 dribbles here, finishing high over the top of a rotating rim protector. If McDaniels gets more opportunities to handle the ball in screen and roll situations, we should see even more crazy finishes like this, and we might even see McDaniels take that playmaking leap that he has shown he is capable of in small doses. There's still a long way to go for him to be someone who can be trusted to set up his role man and control the floor in general as a playmaker, but McDaniels has the vision and the ability to make sweet plays for his teammates. For him, it just seems to be the opportunity that he's missing. He's going to make some mistakes as he grows, but there's clearly something worth fostering there. By giving McDaniels some handoff opportunities within the offense and allowing him the leash to make those mistakes as a high usage option when Minnesota go to the bench, the Timberwolves really have a chance to unleash another offensive gem alongside Anthony Edwards. It's very rare for a team to find a player with as much two-way potential as McDaniels has. Now, no matter how much they have to tinker with their offense, it's time for Minnesota to start tapping into that potential. Thanks for watching Hows and Grows. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It really does help grow the channel.